Hey, what's going on, folks? I've been getting into. My name is Kevin Miles, by the way, and I'm really digging what Kanye is doing. In the world. I mean, I've been watching him for a long time. Not actually when he was a rapper, but when he started sort of having an opinion about politics, he kind of came on to my radar screen in a bigger way. And it's just interesting that there's some parallels between sort of what he's doing and even the music he's making. This closed on Sundays is very intriguing to me because um, I was involved with a lawsuit where there was a juror that was an executive from Chick Fil A, actually. And so the lyrics, I mean, it is my belief that he was involved with some sort of improper shenanigans that went on with my case. And I guess I should say why. Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is I have a professional psychic. So before I went into this case, the trial was in Fulton County, Georgia. Before I went into this case, I was given some information. I was given a word by the psychic of who not to let on this jury. And I wound up letting him get on the jury anyway because he told this very interesting story. When I picked him out of maybe 100 people that were potential jurors, told one of my attorneys, we can't let that guy get on the jury. And he said, okay, no problem. But when they got around to asking questions about, have you ever served on a jury? He tells this interesting story. He says, yeah, I was served on a jury. It was a case down on Boulevard in Atlanta at the time. That meant it was all black neighborhood. It was known for drugs. It was known for drug dealing. And he says it was a drug case. And then he goes on to say, well, and we had to let the guy go. We had to let him go because, there wasn't quite enough evidence. So the attorney says to me, no, I think we want him on the jury. I said, yeah, I think we do. Lean not unto thine own understanding, and all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path, be referring to God. And I had gotten the word. This woman actually calls herself the medium for God, okay? She's a spiritual psychic. And she described him and someone else to a T. Like I said, I picked him out of 100 people. Anyway, the guy winds up becoming the jury foreman. The whole trial, he acts like he's with us, which is it's a litigation strategy called OODA loop. So they're applying the strategy called OODA loop, and it works. My attorney underreacts, even though we proved fraud against this insurance company out of Texas. And there's just a lot of it's a lot of data. I mean, there's a fraternity called SAE that's involved. That some of the members of SAE are involved. And there's just this nexus of Chick Fil A, SAE, the Chick Fil A juror, all of this stuff. The chairman of the Chick Fil A board tends to be from SAE. There's some connection going on. It all goes back to the University of Georgia, where a lot of even the lawyers went to school. So anyway, back to Kanye. So Kanye puts this song out, which is very intriguing to me, closed on Sundays. And he talks about even if I have to take this walk alone, and I believe me, I know what that's like. That's what it's felt like for 8 years, going through this whole journey, which, God has a way of working in your life. I mean, if you're not on the path that you're supposed to be on, I mean, when they say you can't run from God, that's exactly what they mean. You can run if you want to, but then life is going to humble you because all it's really doing, before we were incarnated, we came here to learn a specific lesson, to do something, to get something specifically, to get it done. And if you're not doing it, you may think you're having the greatest life. But if you're not doing it, circumstances are going to conspire to put you back on the path. That's the point. So, when you let go and let God, I mean, that's probably the best advice you can get. And I see that happening in Kanye's life. He said it himself. He said, hey, when he was just, rapping about whatever was in the world, he was in the world and he was of the world. Now he's in the world, but he's not of the world. And I feel exactly the same way because I had pursued entrepreneurship. I mean, when I was a young man, I did pretty well in basketball in high school. I was very popular, all league. I played a couple of years in college, and life was good. Traveled all over the world, started several businesses, just did it my way, and it was all good. But there comes a time when you have to take a stance in life, and that's why I like the lyrics when he said, "Back up off my family." That's exactly how I felt. I remember having a phone call with this gentleman who runs this. I call him a gentleman. That might be stretching the term a little bit, but he's still a divine being. We're all divine beings. So this isn't really about trying to demonize anybody. It's just about telling the truth. We're in a time of truth. Kanye knows that. Everything that's not true is falling away. It's being exposed. And in the beginning of that, the people who are telling the truth, they might sound crazy. But the truth of the matter, they're not. They're just on the wavelength that's here. And it's a wave of energy coming into the universe. And it's here. It's already here. And you can see it. People are waking up. And so going through this whole process, our court systems are a mess. It's a cesspool. There's a lot of corruption going on. There's a lot of things going on that people think folks can't see. But this story, in my case, is called the Chicken Sandwich Brief. You can go to the chickensandwichbrief.com and read all about it if you want to. It's going to be the subject of a major motion picture. And so we're looking for producers who are interested in making movies that are going to change the world. It's telling stories that are going to change the world. So back to Kanye and his lyrics in this Closed on Sundays. He talks about he's got his weapons in the spirit land. And that's how I feel as well. Because the interesting thing about this, what's unique about my case is I'm represented by the largest law firm in the world called Denton's. And, it's been very frustrating trying to just get them to just follow the facts where they go. When I wrote this brief called the Chicken Sandwich Brief, which has something like 27 facts that if you believe in that many coincidences, you probably don't need to be practicing law. If you can't get curious about the kinds of information that I have in that document, metadata that tells a story, then that's where you get into, I feel like I've been walking the road alone, but I don't mind doing it because I can be alone. When God is with you, it doesn't matter if the whole world is against you. This is something we hear. I grew up in the church. My father was an army chaplain. I lived all over the world. I've seen all kinds of things. And you try to do things in an appropriate manner. I've tried to go to court. I won. I actually proved fraud against this company. Proved fraud against the company. But the guy just doesn't want to pay. SAE has a song that they sing, and it got famous at the University of Oklahoma. It went viral. One of the first, super viral videos. We can hang them from a tree, but they can't sign with me. There will never be a nigga at SAE. These are the crowd that I'm dealing with. Down in Atlanta, Georgia, the home of Martin Luther King Jr. and Sr. and the Third. All Morehouse brothers of mine. So, back up off my family, man. That's what I'm saying. Back up off my family. Just like Kanye said, the lyrics were just so on point. He said, I pray to God that he'll strengthen my hand, and I believe that. I believe that because I think we're in the time of truth. And I think people like you watching this video, you've seen wrongdoing happen around you before in this world. Maybe it's happened to you. Maybe it's happened to someone you know. It's just time for people to say, that's wrong. That's not okay anymore. It doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter how powerful you think you are. God is watching everything. He sees everything. He knows everything, So when he said, I draw the land, it's written in the sand. That's kind of how I feel about, that's what the Chicken Sandwich Brief is. It's me drawing the line in the sand and saying, this is wrong. Here's the information I have. I don't really know how all the dots connect, but I believe that people of goodwill will come forward and the dots will get connected. People will do their jobs. District attorneys will do their jobs. People will investigate this and it will all come out, you know. So that's really it, So what Kanye is doing is really needed in this world. He's changing this world and other worlds, other multi-dimensional. We're in a multi-dimensional universe. What Kanye is doing is metaphysical. People can look at him and think that he's crazy, but he's not the only one. There's an old sermon that people tell anybody who's ever been to church for any period of time has heard this statement. God can use somebody that you least expect. God will use someone you least expect. We're in a system. This is a system. It didn't just crop up overnight. This system has been happening for thousands of years. The energy that's here, we're in a time of truth, and it's an energy. It's permeating everything and everyone. Now, imagine you are the God of the universe, and you had to change what was happening in this world. Who are you going to send to do it? The most polite person? I don't think so. The one who can be afraid and scared? No. The one who can be bought off? No, you're not going to pick that person. You're going to pick somebody who can't be bought off. Somebody who has something in his heart that makes him want to do something that's right, even if it doesn't look like it's right. And Kanye could see that. He could see that in Donald Trump. And so do I. I read all of Donald Trump's books as a young businessman. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not afraid of Donald Trump. I don't believe he's a racist. I think he has racial biases. We all do. We're all in a system. You can't be in a system and not be affected by it. But the whole system is changing because people with God in their heart are here to change it. That's what we came here to do. And every person who's alive signed up to be here at this time. It's a very special time in the universe. The change that's happening, there are other universes, beings from all over that are watching this transformation. Because it's really, the whole world it operates on agreements, collective agreements. There are individual agreements, things that you believe. That's an individual agreement. And then there's collective agreements, culture, society. And a lot of that has been shaped by a media that's been serving empire. Not serving God, serving empire. So when you look at who's attacking who, if Donald Trump was so bad, why would the empire be attacking him so hard? They would be happy because they would still be in power, but the change that's coming, they don't like that change. Kanye knows that, and so do I. And it's time for people of goodwill. And the other thing is just keep an open mind. When people have been conditioned for anything, it's very hard. There's a saying that says it's easier to fool someone than it is to convince them that they've been fooled. If you hear the same lie over and over and over again, and everyone is saying it, it's very easy to say it must be true. But if you start asking yourself some very critical questions, that shit falls away real fast. Excuse my language. But it just falls away really quickly. Like the one I just said. If the man is serving the empire and he's so bad, why is the empire attacking him so hard? Don't you know that only 6 companies control 99% of the media? And it doesn't matter where you're getting it from. Whether you're listening to D.L. Hughley on the radio or Roland Martin on the radio, it's the same propaganda you watch it on CNN and MSNBC. It's the exact same thing. It's just a different version. It's made for you because they know you don't watch certain things. You don't read certain things. So wherever you're going to get the information, then make sure that you're getting the version of it that they want you to have. When you step outside of that, you see how crazy it is. Kanye is a free man. He's free. That's how come he can make something called Closed on Sunday. And that's why he can actually do Sunday service, which in my opinion is really operating as a bridge. It's a bridge between the cultural, black culture of around church. He's creating a bridge because this stuff is really metaphysical. It's bigger than religion. It's not about religion. The truth of the matter is God never said anywhere in the Bible, create a religion called Christianity and, name it after me and create a religion called Christianity. He never said anything like that. He was just bringing the truth. Behold, I make all things new. That's the time we're in. And you can see it in Kanye. You can see it in the culture. People are starting to wake up and saying, hey, wait a minute. I don't have to be a Democrat just because I'm black. Because the truth of the matter is we don't even know our history. It's not about parties. It's about truth. Align yourself to truth. And I don't mean the idea of truth. There's a difference between the idea of truth and truth. Truth can stand on its own. Truth doesn't need to call someone a racist to make its point. Truth doesn't have to repeat something they heard from someone else to make their point. You can deduce it by aligning to it. You can say, who's ending the wars? Who's interested in ending wars? Who's saying, I don't want these wars anymore? Wars that cost this country $6 trillion. You want to know why you don't have health care? You want to know why you may not have access to education? You want to know why you may not have access? You want to know why there's so many homeless people? Because all the money we're spending is on these freaking wars. Donald Trump is saying, I don't want these wars. Kanye knows that. That's what he's aligning to. He's aligning to the change of truth that's here, that's coming, and that's what I'm aligning to. I'm an entrepreneur, and my life is dedicated to creating economic justice. I want to see economic justice for our people. And it's not an anti-white thing. It's just there's something wrong when we're 13 or 14% of the U.S. population, and yet we only have 0.5% of the wealth. And that number has been the same since 1865. So if you really want to know the truth of the matter, since slavery so-called ended, 63, in that range, we haven't really, in terms of assets, and the reason why it was very distorted, because if you take all of the entertainers, all of the athletes, and all of the rich Negroes that you think you know because of Instagram or whatever, you're talking about a few thousand people. What about the other 44 million? Okay, so we and the only way we're going to do it is to realize that we're all having a black experience. If you're in black skin, you're having a black experience. Between that and how you spend the dollar in your pocket, that's the way for us all to get out. We have to circulate amongst ourselves. So that's another project, that we're creating a platform. It's a super app called awakenaki.com for the very purpose of circulating our own dollars and creating global businesses so that you can go and get ride sharing or any type of service or product you need from a black-owned company that's creating opportunities for lots of people, not just for themselves. It's not about a few Negroes getting rich. It's about going as deep as we can into the community and lifting everybody up together by realizing that we're all in this together. We don't need to look outside for our solutions. We need to look inside. Kanye is right. When they say back up off my family, all right, that's what I'm getting out of that. So closed on Sundays. You my Chic Fil A. I love it. I love the concept, but some of the stuff Chick Fil A is doing, it's not right, and it's probably going to get exposed. Not probably. It's being exposed. People don't even want them in London anymore. Hey, they make a great chicken sandwich, and nobody's going to dispute that. But so can we. We can make chicken sandwiches too. We've been making chicken sandwiches for a hell of a long time. You know, the same thing with Popeyes. This whole chicken war that's going on. It's great. You know, Popeyes, that's a Canadian company, man. That's not owned by black people. I mean, we lined up around the block. Claude Anderson is right. We lined up around the block around it like it's magic chicken. We can make our own. So we're going to do all of that. So, you know, I may seem like I'm all over the place, but I'm really saying that I'm digging what Kanye's doing, you know, and I support what he's doing. I support him. I'm joining him in this fight for justice, in this fight for truth, okay? And just being a conduit any way I can to advance the cause of freedom and truth for all people, you know? It's not just about black people. It's about people. It's about truth. It's about a better world. It's about doing away with all this inequality, all these double systems and this double speak. You know, you want to be closed on Sunday, that's beautiful. But you can't hate on people the other 6 days of the week. What's that going to do? You're selling great chicken sandwiches, but you're not inclusive. Everybody in this world has a right to be, or they wouldn't be here. God put them here. None of us have the right, you know, to tell someone else that they can't exist. Just the way God made them. It's not our place to, I mean, you know, God doesn't make mistakes. Okay? So that's my 2 cents. Kanye, keep doing what you're doing, and a whole bunch of people are behind you, and people are waking up, brother, because of you. You changing the world, man. And I dig that. I dig that. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents. Y'all take care. Come visit my website. It is 2 websites, beachlogicventures.com and thechickensandwichbrief.com. We need your support. This stuff, as Reverend Jesse Jackson said, freedom ain't free. You know, it does cost money to be in this world. And so we're going to have to pool our resources. We always talk about a lack of access to capital. We spend $1.4 trillion a year. And I'm going to tell you another little secret. If you add up the GDP of all the countries in Africa, it's only 2.1 trillion. That's 54 countries in Africa, 2.1 trillion. African Americans, 1.4 trillion. We are a big, powerful tribe of black people on this planet. And we're going to unite with other black people who are also having a black experience in the Caribbean and around the world. And we're going to start taking care of our own, taking care of ourselves in terms of just how you spend your money. And we're going to create, right now it doesn't exist, we're getting ready to create all of the digital infrastructure and the entrepreneurial infrastructure, the business systems, the franchises. We're going to push opportunities down to the people. And I hope we can do this with Kanye. He's leading the way, and he's a hell of an entrepreneur too. This guy is a brilliant businessman. All right, so is Donald Trump. Now, the last word on Trump, and the reason why we shouldn't be afraid of him, and how you need to think of this in terms of analytically. Donald Trump is not a globalist. If you ever studied real estate, and I studied it in 2 places, Morehouse and a school called Babson, which is the #1 school for entrepreneurship in the world. So I have 2 degrees in real estate. I understand I work on Wall Street. I work in Silicon Valley. I know all of this stuff. And what I'm telling you is what drives real estate companies, if you're a real estate developer like Donald Trump, what you want are local jobs. Doesn't do you any good to have all the jobs going overseas, because people if they don't have money, you can't sell them a house. You can't sell them a condo. You can't sell them a commercial property. So Donald Trump is not a globalist. The globalists are the ones who are shooting at him. They're the ones who own the media. Kanye knows that. I know that. And, you know, if you're listening to this, now you know it too. You know, remember that saying, it's easier to fool someone than to convince them they've been fooled. But your mind is just like a hand. If it's closed, nothing can get in it. If you open it, truth can get in it. That's like your mind. Open your mind. Don't just hate. That's not that you can always go back to that. But stop and say, maybe Kanye's onto something. Maybe Kevin is onto something. You know. And it's really not about personalities. It's just about truth. I wouldn't care if a green-eyed monster showed up. If he was telling the truth, I would follow him. And I would say, hey, that's the truth. It's the lie. It's the secret stuff. It's the secret proceedings. It's the lies. This is what in the time of truth, and it's really, truth is a frequency. It's an energy. Okay? In the field of truth, a lie cannot exist. It won't resonate. And this is what's happening. Mankind, womankind, humankind is waking up and aligning to truth. And it's coming out in an expression in a million different ways. It's probably happening in your life. It's happening in Kanye's life. And his expression is reflecting that. Closed on Sunday, Jesus is King, Sunday service. That's what's up. Peace.